lot of people that were very poorly dressed.
I'm eating my words from last week's podcast. Hey everyone, welcome to Reading the Green. It is Tuesday, January 4th, and guys, we did it. We made it through the long, cold, dark winter on the PGA Tour season, and we actually get to play real DFS golf this week. I'm Mike, joined by Kyle and Jordan as always, and this is our golf DFS preview show. How you guys doing tonight?
Great. As you said, we made it. I'm looking forward to this week and getting back in the swing of things.
Yeah, same. I wish I was there with you, but, stupid 20-year-old au pairs getting into trouble with their friends. COVID scare, so we'll see. I'll let you know tomorrow if it gets worse.
I feel like we'll be doing a lot of this in the coming 9 months as we try to tackle the PGA Tour season. But okay, so here's the deal. If you're new, most people are new, but we had a few episodes out there, but this is where it gets real. This is our launch party, and we're ready to get going with the rest of the PGA Tour season. But so Reading the Green, we love playing fantasy sports, and we've come a long way. We've been at this for a couple of years and been trying to put this podcast together now for at least a few months. And I think I'm really excited to share our approach with everyone else out there. It's something I think is really unique. And our main goal is just to take bias out of how we prep for DFS golf. We find ourselves caught being influenced by, a writer here or a content creator there. And all of a sudden we're filling out our lineups that look just like what one post said on Twitter. And so our whole goal here is to help you remove that bias and try to use more consensus and more resources to prepare for golf DFS every week. So I'm excited. It gives everyone a great chance to be competitive, and we're going to be here. So here's how you can find us. You can find us on our YouTube channel, Reading the Green, any of the major podcast platforms, Spotify, Amazon, Apple, Stitcher, iHeart. You can follow us on Twitter at RTG Podcast DFS. And if you like what you hear, please come back every week. We'll be here every Wednesday morning with new content. And subscribe. Leave us feedback. DM us if you have questions. We're looking to engage. Like I said, I'm really excited. So, all right. So for the rest of the evening, we will get to the Sentry Tournament of Champions because that's why we're here. We will also talk about our golf and fantasy sports resolutions for 2022. That's very important. It's been very hot in the fantasy media lately. We'll talk about swag golf. But first, Kyle, you survived the Winter Classic.
Yes. We had a little bit of a whirlwind weekend. So we finally got free from quarantine last Friday. Would have been, New Year's Eve. Made a quick 8-hour car trip, round trip, to go do a Christmas that we missed. And then I got back in town Saturday and, just went out and braved the 10 below, I think, by the end of the game. Air temperature elements to go watch some hockey outside. Luckily, had a pretty solid liquid blanket on to help it through. But it was a great time. Enjoyed the experience. Don't know if I need to do that again anytime soon, but I'm glad I did it. Glad I was there. Wish the Minnesota Wild would have played a little bit better. But it was a lot of fun, and there was a lot of people that were very poorly dressed for their occasion.
I am not surprised. I'm happy that you dressed appropriately.
And come on, and a lot of Minnesotans, they should be used to doing this. But I saw one guy that was wearing jeans, leather boots, and like a hoodie, and there was no. You could tell he didn't have much underneath. He had to be frozen. He was standing right under a heater. Though they had the radial heats going, so at least it helped out people like that a little bit. But overall, it was a good experience.
But so Kyle, question for you: if it wasn't so cold, is the game worth going to outdoor? Could you see it? Was it like you were watching from the nosebleeds?
Yeah, it was better. It was better than I thought. we sat for the first section in our seats, which were in the upper deck, and kind of looking down the ice. You could see pretty well from there. And then for the second and third period, it was at Target Field. I don't know if anyone's familiar with that, but there's out in the left field on the far pole, there's 3 bars, one on each level. And we were at the second bar and we're able to get up to the railing and had some of that radiant heat pretty close to us. So we just stood there the second and third. And yeah, you had great sight lines from there. It wasn't bad at all.
It seemed like the production was really good. Like watching it on TV, it was pretty cool. Like as a hockey fan, like obviously, being someone from Minnesota, like embracing some of the local hockey culture was pretty cool. But just overall, like it looked pretty cool. So I'm sure there it was.
Yeah. And I have some great photos that I got early in the game before it got too cold to try to take my phone out to do that. But it's good. And, if you got a beer, it helps you drink it quick. You had about 15 minutes before it froze.
Nice.
I did.
So your dry January lasted one day?
No, it started after that.
Okay.
It's a self-definition of dry January.
Okay, well, segue. You are drinking, for the rest of the show, you're drinking a non-alcoholic.
It's from Untitled Art. It's an Italian Pilsner. Usually NA beers are god-awful, but I thought I would try one. And I've had worse.
All right. Jordan, I have one of your favorites. I have a Don't Worry Be Gummy.
Oh, nice.
From Noon Whistle, so pretty excited about that.
And that's, Kyle, you inspired me to also try and do dry January. So I'm drinking water.
I feel like this would have been a good pre-show topic.
I wanted to surprise you, Mike. I wanted to surprise you with that.
All right.
I obviously won't last all of January. It might be next Tuesday where I fall off the rail, but
yeah, I'm not going the whole time. I'm going 3 weeks. Hey, it's a self-definition. I have a work event that is going to be much better with alcohol coming up that last week in January. So
I will say I've drinking a lot, my fair share of NA beers the last handful of years, and there are some really good ones out there that honestly I would drink somewhat regularly if I get my hands on. Fair State has a great one.
I tried to get it.
Yeah.
That was going to be my go-to tonight, but I don't know if they're not brewing anymore, but it's not available right now.
Okay. So let's keep moving along. You guys did some homework. You're going to throw out your 2022 golf and fantasy resolutions, or really whatever you want to share. But let's try to keep it as close to golf and fantasy as possible. Jordan's fantasy sports, not other kinds of fantasies.
Wow, Mike. This is a family-friendly podcast.
Well, why don't you start? What do you got for the group?
So for golf, it's to get new irons, because it's been 10, 11 years and I keep hacking them up out there. And I'm going to actually, go get fitted, do the full process, get my new irons, and hopefully it helps me drop my handicap at least in half.
Okay. That's usually what happens. The more money you spend, the lower your handicap's going to be.
Exactly. And honestly, I think, I never practice. So, maybe new irons, I won't need to practice anymore and I'll just get better. That's my goal.
I need to try that too. Is there a particular brand you have your eye on?
I'm normally a Titleist guy. I got a TaylorMade driver. Those are probably the two that I'll look at. I want to go someplace that has everything though.
Sure.
Right. That's our club pros we've got all these demo days this winter. Come, you can try this one and then try this one. No, I want to literally hit 6 different 7-irons and figure out which one I like the best.
Mm-hmm. What do you got, Kyle?
I'll go betting wise first. And my resolution is to increase my units. I hope we're being successful enough and double down on our success from last year that I feel like I can increase that as we go along throughout the year.
I love that. That's good. That should be all of our goals.
Yeah.
I'll go with golf. This was my resolution last year, but I didn't accomplish it, so I have to double down on this one, and that's play fewer rounds, but play those fewer rounds better. That's my goal. I want to play less, but I want to play better when I play.
That seems like a tall order.
Yeah,
it's hard.
Yep.
I'm not sure the strategy yet, but that's given family situations and all that. There's just going to be less golf, so the little golf I do play, I got to make sure that it's good.
Yeah, unless you spend a lot of time just at the range and on the simulator.
That's part of it. You know, little 30-minute sessions here and there, and figure it out.
So the simulator will be ready in your basement by April?
I need to, that I'm working a lot of half swings in the basement right now. Ceiling's not quite tall enough.
Nice.
Anyways, Jordan, you got any fantasy sports resolutions?
So I put in $100 into DraftKings now a year and a half ago, and I'm up. I'm still up. I have never put in more money. I think I've got like $180 in there. But my goal is to get better at the double ups. So like I have a neighborhood league that I always take all their money. In golf, I won the Sunday night football with the Vikings. I actually won our fantasy league here again. So like I take most of my winnings come from the other degenerates in my neighborhood, not from the double ups and GPP and tournaments and things like that. So I want to get more winning in that, and I'm going to follow the model closer this year. Last year I still went a little too much on gut of like, I don't like that guy. Like, I don't want to pick Patrick Reed, but now I'm gonna stick. I literally tried to my first lineup I just submitted. I tried to go straight down from the top.
That's great.
I think we have believer number one.
I love this. I love this.
Man.
Kyle, anything on the golf course for you?
Just play and not suck. Just play well enough that people don't mind playing with me. That's it.
I don't mind playing with you. You're great company.
Yeah.
And your handicap is great for our Superintendent's Revenge.
Yeah, exactly. So I just got to keep walking that line that it doesn't get too bad one day. Somebody's like, forget this guy.
But no, so Kyle, the thing is, it's if you're bad, you play. The worse you are, the faster you play. If you're bad and slow, I will never play with you again. But if you're bad and fast, we're in. Let's go. Let's go have some fun. Drink some beer. So, and you're bad and fast, so that's good.
All right, I'll round it out with a fantasy sports resolution, and that's to not compulsively check the DraftKings app when I have no control over what's happening.
Fair.
I enter a lineup on Thursday. Nothing's going to happen until Sunday. I don't need to be on that thing all the time seeing what's going on. So I'm not going to say I'm not going to check it. It's just the compulsive checking that he said.
Family will probably appreciate that one.
Yeah.
All right. Okay, so before we go to break, Jordan, we talked last week about potential end of year stuff for Swag Golf. Was there anything that happened on New Year's Eve, or did they kind of keep things pretty quiet?
Been quiet. Nothing. They haven't sent out a tweet since like the 1st, and that was just to say Happy New Year. So nothing going on. They haven't shipped out the cover of the month yet, so we're still waiting on our kitty cat. So we'll see. I'm expecting them to start doing it. It was every week, every other week at least last year. So they gotta start cranking it out here soon, I would imagine.
Yeah. So what happens now in this part of the year where there's no like kind of big, whether it's holidays or big golf, like do they just kind of feed off of whatever pop culture stuff is going on, or you said it's like every week?
Yeah, pop culture stuff. They've got, they did WWE now. They've still got Capcom. They just finished all the Street Fighter releases, so they might do a different Capcom video game character or something. They do, I think April 1st is their anniversary, so they go crazy on April 1st. There'll be tons of stuff. And then they do Masters Week. I think they do drops Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday.
Okay.
So that's probably the anniversary, and then Masters Week are the two big ones, which they're back to back, very
Sweet.
close together.
So we got some time to strategize.
Yes. And I've cleared out I think I've gotten rid of all of the holiday or the Swagmas stuff that I got, except for my Shitters Full head cover. So it was a productive week, couple of weeks in the Dietrich household for selling swag.
All right. Yeah. Well, obviously anyone out there that's into swag gear, that you can reach out to us, and we have an inside source. So, okay, well, let's go to break, and we'll come back and talk about the Sentry Tournament of Champions. Hey everyone, welcome back. Let's get into the Sentry Tournament of Champions. Like I said, I'm so excited to just finally have a golf tournament to talk about. So here we go. We're back at Kapalua, where Jordan just off air was telling us that he had the course record for a while until Harris English showed up last year. Right? Is that right?
Yeah, pretty much.
Okay.
You know, I only played 12 holes, but I had the 18-hole course record.
Wind picked up in the afternoon.
I have a feeling that some of these guys might shoot 18-hole scores that matched your 12-hole score.
Bro, I'm not that bad. I'm not Kyle. Come on.
Fair.
Well, it is going to be a birdie fest. I mean, that's pretty much the deal at Kapalua. Like the fairways are 100 yards wide, and everybody's just making a ton of birdies. 2 years ago when JT won, I think the scores were down, and that's because the wind was pretty nuts. But this is the Sentry Tournament of Champions, so I think 38 players in the field because Cameron Champ is out. But you had to win an event last year. Includes opposite field events, so you get a ton of the stud players that won throughout the year playing, but then you also get guys that won in like Puerto Rico or Bermuda or whatever, and so you do have some guys that are kind of further down the board from a world ranking standpoint, which makes for a pretty interesting small field no cut event. So looking at our model, and actually let's just look back really quick where we ended the season from a contributor standpoint. Fantasy Pros, one of the sources that we follow pretty closely, they actually ended the fall swing on top. They didn't have picks in every week, but when they did, they were pretty good. And I'm pretty excited to be like kind of having somebody else be in the mix as far as like a strong contributor standpoint. Sobel obviously is another strong one for us. I'm actually going to expect him to have a couple of good weeks out of the gate because kind of stumbled towards the end of the fall swing. But all that being said, feels like a fresh slate. Kyle, why don't you just kind of give us the rundown of who our model is pointing at the top, and then we'll get into some of our picks around the table here.
Yeah, so far, I believe we have about 85% of our contributors in. So we do have a little bit more that will trickle in tomorrow. But at this point in time, No Cut King himself, Xander Schauffele, is leading the way at 56% mention share. Justin Thomas, also very strong in no cut events, is up there as well, along with Sanjay coming out third. From there, it tends to bunch up a little bit more, but those at this point are the top three consensus on the board.
Yeah, Xander, I mean, we always talk about him as the no cut king, and obviously he won the Olympics, and he's been really solid. I also like that I feel like you get a price break on him. You're getting him under 10K. And I would much rather have him over, DeChambeau or whoever else gets further down the board that are double digits. So it's great to see him at top. I don't know if that means he'll be chalky or not. Like I assume he will be pretty highly owned, but it's a great place to start.
Yeah, and that's
I'm going in on DeChambeau a couple places this week. 100-yard fairways. Let him just bomb it away, Mr. Birdie. He's coming in.
Maybe. I feel like 100-yard fairway, like that totally kind of like neutralizes his ability to hit it far. Like everybody can let it go.
But he's still hitting the sand wagon, and they're hitting 9-iron.
Jordan is not alone in that take. Bryson is getting some love from the model as well. Not as strong of API as some of the others towards the top of the board, but some people definitely have their eyes on him.
So for new listeners, some of the metrics that we follow, so we track our contributors' performance pretty closely. And so sometimes we'll talk about performance index or the API index that we've developed. And that's a measure of how strong we think the consensus behind a certain player is. So someone like DeChambeau, while he might not have the mention share, meaning the number of contributors that are talking about DeChambeau, he's getting attention from ones that perform pretty well.
And that's a great segue into, one of the segments we typically do is our 3 picks of the week. And one that I have, it fits a great example for that. And that is Daniel Berger. He's only at 25% mention share, but he has the best API on our board of anyone with multiple mentions. So 25% of our contributors are on him, but the ones that are on him have had a successful track record in our model in the past.
Yeah, I feel like he's a sneaky pick most of the time. Like he's obviously played very well, and I think his strokes gained over the last year have been really, really good. But he's just not a name that gets a lot of attention, so I'm sure you're going to get a bit of ownership break too.
Yeah, and 8,400, he makes it pretty easy to build out a lineup. So that's one name that our model likes this week. That's going to be a core piece of my lineups. We've already talked about Xander Schauffele, but at 9,500, he will be as well with the over 56% mention share. And then my third play of the week is I'm going with Cam and the stash. I'm assuming he's still rocking the stash, I should say, but he's right around 50% mention share at this point. Solid API, and at a price at 8,300 that allows you to do a couple different things with your lineup. One thing we'll really try to avoid with our plays, if at all possible, is just telling you the 3 most expensive guys on the board. It's very rarely that's who our model spits out, but that also doesn't help you build your lineups.
Yeah. Well, cool. So I also had Xander. We talked about him being the no cut king. I can't fade that right now. I had a couple of the guys in my core that Kyle also mentioned, but I will say that I will also be rostering Jason Kokrak this week. The guy's been he's won like three and a half times in the last year. He won 3 PGA Tour events, then he won the QBE shootout with Kevin Na, and I think he's the real deal. Like, he's got the length, and he's not just going to be a guy you're taking a flyer on week to week anymore. I think he'll be the real deal. And my third core play, and I feel like I'm eating my words from last week's podcast. I'm taking Patrick Cantlay.
Oh, Mikey.
He's got really nothing to show for this fall. I don't think he showed up anywhere, but I just look back to the August and September that he had, and I have no reason to believe that he's gonna show up and be a different human. So the model loves him, or I should say he's high, he's on the top end of it, not as high as Xander or JT or Sungjae, but I will be on Cantlay this week.
Yeah, Kokrak's coming in around 42% mention share, so he was getting some love there as well, and a pretty strong API. Cantlay not quite as high on the mention share, but it does a solid API as well.
Jordan, where are you looking this week?
I already went into my Bryson,
right,
going that way. Otherwise, I just did a tiers. I stuck the top person for every one of them, so I didn't take Bryson because Xander is in the same tier. But then on my neighborhood tournament that I do, I went Bryson, and otherwise got Xander, Sungjae, and then I went the cheap route. I wanted Seamus Power, who, full disclosure, I have no idea who that is, but he's a power. Seamus Power Hitter is his nickname, I heard.
Okay. Well, this is exactly the. I'm actually glad that you're picking him. I'm glad that you're picking him because I was telling Kyle this before we started recording, and it's that I can't remember what tournament it was earlier this summer, but someone on a podcast I was listening to made a really great case for Seamus Power, and I know I listened to that, and I went back to build a lineup, and I was like, I am starting with Seamus Power. And, of course, I went and actually worked on our model, and he was nowhere to be found at the top. And I quickly got rid of that opinion that I needed to have Seamus Power that week. But that's what we do. You can't be influenced by one podcast that you listen to and then just go start building your lineup. So I was rightfully corrected. Here, he is near the top. He's probably the best 6K play we have in our model. And so I have no problem with thinking he's going to have a good week. I think he had 30 or 40% of the mention share already.
Yeah, he has a decent mention share. And this isn't a normal from, once somebody's under 7K, his API is pretty rough. So if you're looking in that range, a pivot that might have about the same mentions and a little better API corner model would be Joel Dahlman. But
Good. I've got him too.
You're under 7. You're rolling the dice anyway. So
I went stars and scrubs.
Yeah.
I've got 4 really good guys and 2 scrubs that if they hit, I win.
Most recently, I think Joel Dahlman was playing in a pitch and putt charity event for Tito's Vodka with Pat Perez, Harry Higgs, and Harold Varner III. So his short game might be dialed in. I
emceed by the Manolo Loves Golf guy.
Oh, was it really? I guess I didn't see that. All right. Okay, so Jordan, you mentioned tiers. Kyle, you're kind of teeing up our tiers breakdown. So within the model, like where do we see either like a really tough decision or maybe some differentiation?
Yeah, each week we'll try to look at one tiers area. We do like to sprinkle in the tiers into our competitions each week as well. This week I'll highlight tier 4. That is a very tough decision according to the model. There's a lot of bunched up in the mention share, but this is one place where the API can help you make your decision. I mean, you have Cam Smith sitting there, you have Jason Kokrak, you had Patrick Reed, so a couple names we've talked about. You have Daniel Berger, all in a similar area from a mention share standpoint. But going by that API, that really helps you segregate that a little bit more. And it looks like either Jason Berger or Daniel Berger or Cam Smith would be the best play.
Okay.
And I'm following my resolution. I picked Cam Smith. He's got one more mention. The model does tiers very easily if you want to go top to bottom.
I agree. That's why we like to highlight it, because it helps you really separate some. I can't believe that it's crazy in an event like this. Like tier 4 that's some firepower.
Yeah. Yeah, and to your point about using the model in tiers, I would say last year during the summer months, when I had probably my best sustained success, it was really winning some nice tiers contest using the model to lead the way.
Okay. Any other thoughts on Sentry Tournament of Champions? Like, I'm just like so giddy for Thursday to just see some golf action.
Thursday and golf till late at night. I believe coverage goes till 10 p.m. Eastern time.
Prime time.
Yeah.
Well, let's win some money, boys.
There is that actually brings up a good point that the PGA Tour, as we kind of segue into some other topics here to close out the show tonight, the PGA Tour has done some interesting things from a scheduling standpoint. Did you guys see that they moved to fit better around the football schedule? So I think Farmers is going to end on Saturday now, so that they get clear of the NFC and AFC championship games on Sunday.
Oh, I didn't realize that.
Yeah, so they're and the Phoenix Open switched weekends because the Super Bowl is a week later now.
Yeah, it's like the 13th this year.
Yeah, so the Phoenix Open is always the same weekend as the Super Bowl, and so they wanted to keep that tradition. So they just swapped with, I can't remember what term they swapped with, but they swapped to be a weekend later now. But yeah, so Torrey Pines is going to be Wednesday to Saturday instead of Thursday to Sunday.
That's interesting. Also, something to look forward to this year is the change up in broadcast partnership to ESPN Plus, I believe.
Oh yeah.
So there'll be a lot more broadcast coverage, a little bit more accessible than in the past with PGA Live. And I believe they're having several different, they'll have a couple featured groups, they'll have a couple featured holes, more similar to some of the Masters coverage online in the past, from what I've read.
I mean, I've really liked with NHL going to ESPN this year. Like, it's been really great. There's just so much more content, and I feel like I'm way more plugged into the league than I have been in the past.
I completely agree.
Kyle, you had prepped a few things that you had gathered from friends over at Team Awesemo around golf DFS. So you want to share a little bit about some interesting points here?
Yeah, so this was very tough for me to bite my tongue into some of Jordan's points earlier. I did read a season preview article over at Awesemo, and that broke down, and granted, this is winners. Winners aren't everything, especially in cash games, but they had broke down the winners from the 43, what they classified as main events last year in 2021. 9 of those winners had a salary over $10,000. 20 of those winners had a salary between $8,000 and $9,900, and 19. I can't read my own writing. 14 of those winners had a salary of under $8,000. So here in the green, we tend to lean towards playing a lot of cash games. So you'll hear us talk about that. We do GPP sprinkles as well. And, the model works really well of trying to weed through those cash contests. But one place the model also can help is highlight, who the consensus plays are out there, which might correlate to ownership as well. So Mike kind of highlighted that. So, it's important to help, understand the lens we're looking through a lot of times and how we're positioning this stuff to understand how, we approach it and what drives what we talk about. But Mike, you kind of hit on this is you like that mid salary range. Well, last year that had the most winners in that 8,000 and 9,900 group. So I thought that was interesting.
Well, it goes to show like you really have to be building a lineup that's tailored towards the contest you're playing in. And that's everywhere from the number of entrants to the max number of entries. Like there are different strategies. And I do find that if you are going to play a lot of cash games, those hybrid lineups really help because you're looking for guys that are going to make the cut and just score points for 4 rounds. That's not necessarily true if you're setting out to win $1 million in a millie pool where you got to take a big swing and basically hit all 6 guys right. But it's I guess I am. I don't know. I shouldn't say if I'm surprised or not. The 10K up, the higher salary players week to week, like it's a lot of pressure to just say like John Rahm's going to come out and win every week, yet he's going to be priced above 10,000 every single week he plays. There are other guys that have floated back and forth depending on sort of what their form is like, where maybe we've caught them where they dipped down into the 9 or 8K range.
Yeah, and to be fair, and as someone that it drives me crazy when people use statistics wrong, we should point out as well that there's maybe there's 6 guys over 10K this week, where that 8,000 to 9,900 range, that's going to have a lot more players.
Yeah.
So yeah, you would have a higher share there. But I did find that enlightening because I think if you ask most people, they would say the winners more often than not north of 10K.
Yeah, and I think most people. Jordan.
Question for you there, Kyle. Did they talk at all about missed cuts and the dollar values? Right? Is a 10,000 person 99% likely to make the cut, but us 8 to 10 is 60%?
Yeah, valid question. I did not see that breakdown, but that would be something.
It is something that we have the data for that I think we could probably service in the next handful of weeks to try to look into that some more based on where our model sits, because that is something that we like to factor in is the ability for a player to make the cut. Because again, if you're playing a lot of cash games like that makes a huge difference. And so yeah, I think that is something that we could probably look at. So I think that's really interesting, and I think it just kind of goes to show that you really have to fit the lineup build to the contest you're going to play.
Exactly.
There's a couple other things to round out here before we close out. So we do have the achievements are back for those that are interested in play on DraftKings. The PGA achievements are back. All of us here will play at least Friday to Sunday showdowns. I kind of put all strategy out the window when it comes to those things. You can play the weather, you can play the leaders. Like I think it's super fun to be trying to play a different lineup than your full tournament lineup.
Yeah, I try to play the fade. I do that a lot. The guys on the leaderboard I don't have elsewhere.
Right.
It wasn't a great strategy.
You tried to hedge yourself for the week. So I'm really excited that DraftKings brought those back. Just give a little more incentive to be playing those showdowns through the weekend. It just gives a few more guys to cheer for, I guess.
Yeah.
Yes. They took away our real reason for playing though.
Which is the
monthly rewards and all the cash you get once you get one of those.
But, well, that's true, but I will certainly be there.
It's still fun. Yep.
Playing daily again. Okay, last point. The Player Impact Program, which was all over social media. Phil Mickelson and Tiger Woods taken home, $8 million and $5 million out of that pool. I think those guys probably would have won any year of the last 15 years if they had been running this.
Yeah, for sure. There needs to be like a coefficient applied to like Tiger. Does he even tweet or puts out a couple swing videos and hey, he gets second. At least feels engaging.
Yeah, like Michael Jordan might still win the NBA one, right?
Yeah, and
he's still the most famous.
Well, it's interesting. Like if you ever look at like who the highest paid athletes are, just like across like all forms of revenue, it's like Tiger, Phil, Jack Nicklaus, and Arnold Palmer are all in the top 10.
Maybe at one point, but you got
no. I'm serious.
Cristiano Ronaldo.
Those guys are up there, but like it's for whatever reason. Like I don't know if they're counting like revenue from like the golf courses that have been built or whatever. Like there's the whatever royalties, but like these guys have had legacies and have touched like so many different businesses that the lifetime earnings are pretty outstanding. So, all right. Guys, good luck. I'm really excited to spend the next 9 months trying to figure out how to win as much money as possible, and just having a lot of fun doing this. Like this isn't too serious. Like we just hang out.
Heck yeah. We'll drink some good beers along the way.
Yeah,
after the next couple of weeks.
Well, if you like what you hear, please listen and subscribe. Come back next week. As I said, we'll be here every Wednesday. You can follow us on Twitter. You can find us on YouTube, Reading the Green, and any of your favorite podcast platforms. Looking forward to catching up next week on the Sentry Tournament of Champions and when we'll look ahead to the Sony Open. See ya.